So I really enjoy watching videos of people knitting and talking about important things. That's mainly what my TikTok and my Instagram is. So I thought I would do the same here. And also I wanted to just talk about my knitting really. Right now I'm working on a sweater. That's the back panel. This is the front panel here. Yeah, it's just gonna be a striped sweater. Once I finish the back panel, I'm gonna sew them up and then work on the sleeves. Anyways, I also wanted to talk about knitting because I think it's interesting looking at knitting with deep tech because knitting itself is something that can be done by machine. But if you ask most people, they'll say that doing it by hand is more rewarding and just like the more popular version of the craft. And I think the dynamic between can you do something with technology and should you do something with technology is an interesting debate that frankly Eric Redmond just never really dived into. The first main point that really brought this up into my head was in chapter 5 when he's talking about the Internet of Things. And he talks about the AI grocery store brought by Amazon. And he describes the Amazon store as the holy grail of shopping. He says it's correct, frictionless, and instant. And obviously, this book was written in 2021, so he can't look into the future. But in April of this year, it was discovered that those stores that were supposed to be automated, that they were supposed to have AI like tools and sensors and everything, that they were scanning and checking out and charging your accounts, that it was actually just contract workers in India that were just looking through security cameras. And that's how they were charging your accounts. So I just find it really ironic and hilarious that Eric Redmond describes this utopia of grocery shopping, and it's actually just a very similar version of grocery shopping that we have today, in that it's has some technology used for security and inventory, but it's mainly humans doing most of the work. Um, I also found that Eric Redmond just didn't seem to think things all the way through. He was talking in the chapter about self-driving cars. Here, I have it with me. I can read what he's talking about. He says, in many cities, around one-third of all usable space is dedicated to parking. In a world where shared AVs are generally on the move, dropping people off and immediately picking up a package delivery, much of that space can be reclaimed. And what he described is a bus or a metro or some sort of like already public transport that we have. And I just think that while sure it may be nice to have automatic vehicles and self-driving cars take us from place to place, that a version of that already exists and it already works well. And so we should just, if the ultimate goal is to create things in order to have less parking space and more green space in general, we can just invest in what we already have, which is buses and metro and public transport. Um, and I think, lastly, the point that really made me irritated with Eric Redmond was his chapter on artificial intelligence. Um, Obviously, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the future, where some of what he's talking about of AI being pushed into different industries, we're already seeing that, and we're seeing the more immediate pushback of it. Um, but in the last paragraph of his AI chapter, he says, while the downsides of AI may seem dark, there are many positives we shouldn't overlook. If we can get the social factors figured out, we may realize the dream of the Industrial Revolution. More free time for all of us to pursue personal interests. Who needs a 40-hour work week anyway? I love to spend more time with my family while letting my robotic mower cut the lawn or my AI assistant answer emails. And I just find that an interesting perspective, mainly because we live in a capitalist society, obviously. We run on money and jobs as a way to keep people like fed and housed and alive. And like AI, he like openly says that AI will take away jobs, but or jobs from humans, I should say. But he says if we can get the social factors figured out, but that's the important thing. The important thing and the necessary thing is that if you want to advance technology, you have to get the social factors figured out first. And he dismisses it as a like option, as a small side thing you also need to figure out. That I personally would love to have like some aspects of my job be AI, and the things that I do every day in my job be taken over by a robot. That's fine with me, but in replace of that, I need to still be able to pay rent and buy my groceries and things like that. And he's dismissing that. And Eric Redmond and Elon Musk and a lot of those other people, that they aren't reckoning with the fact that a capitalist society cannot function with the AI that they want to develop, and that if everybody has their job taken away by robots, we are not going to be a working society anymore. So, yes, got a row done ish. And those are my thoughts on Eric Redmond's Deep Tech.